Today we have the other two companies. Remember, these companies aren't ranked. We have picked 4 companies for the Innovation Showcase, and they're in no particular order. Yesterday I went over some of the material, how we had 15 companies and how we judged them and all that stuff. What I didn't mention is that this is an expensive show for a lot of exhibitors, and we can't get a lot of the young companies to exhibit here because they can't break out of the messaging level. And so the Innovation Showcase is an opportunity for these companies. The show organizers subsidize the travel, the booth is provided. So getting selected in these 4 companies is actually a big break for these companies. And last year, of the 4 companies, 2 of them are in booths this year, and one of them just won Best of Show. Look at that. So that's great. So be sure to visit these companies in the Innovation Showcase on the floor. Find out what they're doing and learn a little bit about them. So I'd like to bring out our first presenter, Sunil, from a company called Nuvixia. Sunil, come on out.
Good morning, everybody. And thanks again to Dave and to Enterprise Connect for giving us the opportunity to speak here. We're really excited to be able to talk about our solution, hopefully.
There we go.
Okay. So really what Nuvixia is all about is we're a software services solution in the video communication space. But really what we believe is it's all about the human connection when you're doing presentations. And of course, when you're in the room, it's very easy to create that engagement with your audience. You can see my body language, you can see the personality come through, and I can grab your attention when I'm talking about a presentation, even though that slide deck might be behind me. But what do you do when you can't be in the room? Well, typically what you see nowadays is, you've got one end, which is the desktop video conferencing solutions, where they're convenient, they're low cost, but they don't tend to give you a lot of quality. You're sacrificing that for the convenience. We've all seen those little postage stamp sized talking heads on top of your slides. Don't really add a lot of value to your presentation. The other way you can go, of course, is to do something very high-end. You've got your green screen studios. You've got your high-end telepresence systems. I'm sure for people who have walked the expo hall, there's some really amazing technologies out there that let you do this. But in that case, you're really sacrificing both budget and convenience for the ability to do things at a high quality. So at Nuvixia, really what we wanted to do was say, how can we get more of that in-the-room presence kind of interaction, but at the desktop and make it much more accessible and affordable for people. And so we created something that we call stage presence. And what stage presence is effectively as a presenter, you can take any Windows PC, plug in a USB mass market depth camera, which are very readily available now thanks to things like Microsoft Connect, $100 to $250 for a camera one-time setup. And then you download our software, Stage Presence, which you can get for free from our website, Vix.tv. And what Vix.tv does and what Stage Presence lets you do is embed yourself into your content and give a presentation online that actually looks more like you're in the room. So we actually can do that with two really cool technologies. One is a virtual green screen, so no screen required. Wherever you're standing, any background, any environment, we can actually extract you from that background and then embed you with your slides, which means you can shoot video from home, you can shoot video from your desk. You don't need to go into the special room anymore. And what your audience then sees is you standing in front of your slides and interacting with them naturally, and that's the second thing that we do. We actually allow you to control your content, interact with it naturally through gesture and motion. So no need for the clicker anymore. You can basically just raise your hands and wave your hand to the left or right in order to control your slides. We can even deploy you onto your desktop, so if you want to talk about something in a browser content or a video or bring up some of your documents, you're actually right there on the desktop, just as if you would be if you were standing in front of your audience. And then sharing that content is really easy. It basically uploads to our portal called Vix.tv. So if you need a hosted solution, we actually provide that for you. If you can do that within your enterprise network, we allow you to do that as well. And for your audience, it's really simple. It's simply a URL that they go to that has your content. No plugins required, no downloads required. We're HTML5 and Flash compliant, so they can watch it on their phone, they can watch it on their tablet, they can watch it on their PC browser. And you as the presenter can actually tell when your audience has actually looked at your presentation. So unlike sending them the slides in an email where you're not sure whether they ever even opened them or understood them, every time they watch that presentation, it's as if you're giving it to them live in the room. So we really believe that we have a great solution, allows you to do something pretty compelling at a very cost-effective price point. We have a service model, so we actually have subscriptions that are very flexible from individuals and small businesses all the way up to large enterprises. And what we found is people are using this for all kinds of things where video communications are important. We're showing live demos at the show, on the show floor in the booth, so we'd really love people to come check it out, jump in front of the camera, and see how easy it is to create this kind of content. Thank you.
I'm trying to change the slide. So, what are some of the usage models for technology like this? Blue screen, green screen. It doesn't really fit in the enterprise, does it?
Sure. So, I mean, what we've really found, there's a lot of diverse uses, of course, but really two places that we found it really be effective is in pre-sales and inside sales, where you're walking a customer through your product or service, and then absolutely in training and webinars. So anytime you're doing a tutorial, anytime you're trying to produce any content to walk somebody through what you're trying to do, it's really effective at that, and you can be very responsive to your customer. Because you don't have to go into that fancy studio setup, you can just record something at your desk. Your customer has a question, you can record a video and have it up there to them in 2 minutes.
Real quickly, give us an idea of your roadmap. Where's this technology going?
Sure. So what we're showing at the show today is basically a pre-recorded version of this. You can record a presentation or a webinar. The next phase that we see is turning that into live, and we're wrapping up work on that right now, so you're going to see that very, very soon.
Live, so you can be in a video conference and have whatever background you want behind you?
Exactly. So it's great for even doing things like customer support, where you can actually have whatever brand in the call center that you want sitting behind you. You can also make it look like you're in the office when you're actually sitting at the beach, which is nice, or sitting in the bar. And of course, what we're really looking at doing is doing this as a two-way collaboration. So if you have a system and I have a system, suddenly we're in a shared virtual space with all the presence, but doing it from our own desk, maybe at home, maybe in the home office.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to welcome Scott Warden from Vidtel.
Thanks, Dave. Good morning, everybody. And we're really honored to be here as an Innovation Showcase Award winner. So this morning, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Vidtel and some of the problems we see in the video conferencing space and how we approach some of those problems. So Vidtel is a cloud-based video conferencing provider. We provide any-to-any video conferencing solution, so any protocol, any device, anywhere. And we've been around for about 4 years, purely focused on solving this problem. So if you look at some of the problems in the video conferencing space, one of them, as we've heard over the last few days, is about video interoperability. Now, it all started out very easy. We had our H.323 systems, and then we added SIP, and we'd like to say at Vidtel that SIP is an interpretive protocol. Unfortunately, everybody interprets it differently, so it creates some issues. And then we have Skype and Google and video and Microsoft and a whole new plethora of new standards, WebRTC, et cetera, which we would argue is not only making the interoperability challenge a problem, but it's actually making it worse. Okay, secondly, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, something you haven't heard at the conference yet. People are using tablets for video conferencing. So this is a real challenge for the industry in that we're trying to take our room systems that may have 10 or 20 in a company and then support potentially thousands, millions, or a billion people with tablets. How do you support that on the existing infrastructure? And how do you make it work seamlessly with what you have today? And then the third thing is there are challenges around B2B video conferencing and security as a trade-off, where today there are really two major choices where you can take your video conferencing systems, you can put them behind the firewall, and then, of course, you have to get the captain video to go and open up lots of different ports to go make a call with some other company. Or the other alternative, hey, let's put our video conferencing system on the internet. What could possibly go wrong? So what do we do to tackle these challenges? Well, first of all, what we do is we allow the enterprise systems, so let's say Cisco, Polycom, and Lifesize, to be able to easily talk and seamlessly with the consumer systems such as Google and Skype. And not only by different protocols, but also different devices. So you can have people who are in a conference room, people on their desktop, people in a hotel or remotely, all talking to each other without having to be forced to use the same exact standard from the same vendor. And then lastly, try to address the trade-off of security and B2B video, where you don't have to make that trade-off. You can have your video systems both behind the firewall, but having a publicly facing address, doing it in many ways the same way that we do in the voice world or with the big vendors for VoIP, but uniquely applying it for video and the interoperability challenges there. So, of course, we do it in the cloud, like everyone else. And by doing it in the cloud, it allows us to be very aggressive and disruptive on the current pricing models. So two services that we have today, one of them is a Meet Me video conferencing service. So we allow 3, 4, 8, 20 people in a conference. So you can have people who are using their high-end systems from Cisco, Polycom, Lifesize, et cetera, talking to Skype and Google on their tablets, their PCs, their desktops, et cetera. And we do it at a pricing that's 10% or below the total cost of ownership of running and buying your own bridging infrastructure. And then we also have a service which we call Vidtel Connect, which is more what we call video Dialtone. So for less than $30 a month, you can take your high-end video systems, get them through the firewall, make and receive unlimited video calls without having to buy the alphabet soup of session border controllers, gateways, gatekeepers, et cetera. And for only another $10 a month, you have the ability to add on PSTN functionality, local telephone number, unlimited calling in North America, and some of the UC functionality. So essentially allow you to do both your voice and your video for the same price or less that you do for your voice only. Thanks very much. If you want more information, I'd love to have you visit our booth. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Oh, here you go.
You go to the market indirectly through the channel. Could you talk about how people can find your product or services?
We do. So we only sell and market through channels. Those could be some of the equipment vendors. Those could be some of the audiovisual dealers. And through some of the service providers that do voice and video where they may embed our service.
An example?
So one of them is a company called Infocus. They've delivered a product called the MondoPad. We joke it's the world's biggest iPad. It's a 55-inch touchscreen with office collaboration, whiteboarding, and HD video. They use us for the video conferencing service behind it.
Very good. I talk to a lot of people in video, but you're one of the few that actually has a video number you advertise. How do people reach you?
Yeah, my business card, my video address, the same as my email, scott@vidtel.com.
Doesn't matter what kind of system I have.
No, H.323, SIP, XMPP.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if I'm supposed to introduce anybody, so somebody will be here soon. Oh, Eric.
Thanks, Dave. We were just chatting back there. It's, our first session that we're going to start out with